Over 100 million small block Chevy engines were sold by 2022. 3 small blocks every minute since you and me were born. And all of those engines total up for a grand total of 23 billion horsepower.
Bro, you should not have told me that. I'm settling for nothing less than 23 billion horsepower.
I agree.
Hey everyone, welcome to Gear Glazers. I'm Kyle, and this is Mike, aka Magic Mike. And today we're continuing our Super Sedan series with none other than the Cadillac CT5-V. Mike, talk to me.
CT5-V?
CT5-V.
That's what this thing's called?
It's called the CT5-V.
What happened to the CTS-V?
So there's CTS, ATV, XT, something like their nomenclature is pretty weird. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, I've been saying CTS-V for years.
Yeah, I mean it's okay.
Okay,
you can say that. We know what you mean.
Okay,
but yeah, so this car, it's a legend.
Yeah,
and it's a legend that not a lot of people know about. That's why I was so excited to pick this episode.
It's definitely low key.
So we're gonna get down to the perception of this car later in the Glaze score, but it scores terribly. People think this car sucks. And it's actually one of the, if you don't know this is one of the, we don't agree on much. Mm-hmm. This is one of the coolest cars that they make, period.
Yeah. I get why the perception's low though. Like, I think it speaks to what happened to Cadillac for our generation in general. Like, Cadillac was that status symbol for the older generations, and then it completely fell off for, like, millennials.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to that also, but this happens when you try and, like, when you leave your specialization and comfort, and you try to do performance. But we're gonna talk about that. Yeah. For now, we can take a little bit of dive into the history of the Cadillac. So, obviously, like you said, this thing is based on the CTS-V. Mm-hmm. So that car comes out in 2004, and I don't know how many times we're going to say this throughout these series, but the best cars come from competition. This car came from competition with the German super sedans, because in that, like, in the early 2000s, like, BMW, Mercedes, they're just absolutely killing the game. Mm-hmm. So Cadillac, GM's like, we got to come out with something to counter that, and they come out with the CTS-V.
What's the competition in those years? 03 is the M3, the E46 M3, and Laguna Seca Blue with a manual transmission.
Throwback. You got the 5 Series also.
Yeah,
the 5 Series is great.
That one was a monster.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, you have the E-Class.
The E-Class is doing
putting down numbers,
well.
Yeah.
Also, that's the Lexus LS400, which was insane in that generation.
Yeah. Is that the Super Engine LS or no?
No, that's that crazy super smooth V8 where that car has the lowest decibels while you're driving.
This is not Dat Boy Duck.
No, not Dat Boy Duck. This is Matt Farah's Million Mile Lexus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the competition is steep. Those are amazing sedans.
Yeah, no, seriously. So, okay, just to be clear, they put out the CTS in 2004.
Okay.
And in 2005, they put out the CTS-V, which is just an absurd thing to do. Cadillac puts a Corvette, C5 Corvette Z06 engine in the Cadillac. And that's where the CTS-V is born, man. That's where it gets its start.
Hell yeah, buddy.
So, the CTS-V is the return to racing for Cadillac. Now, one thing that GM does really well is when they decide to make a performance car, they get serious about competing in racing. And something that I thought was pretty cool about the CTS-V is that this was Cadillac's first return to racing in like 50 years. And the last time they were racing was with the Series 61 and Series 62, which are very similar, if you pull up a picture, to the Hudson Hornet, which is who Doc was in the Cars franchise.
That's a fun fact.
So it's like, they hadn't been racing since those days, and then 50 years later, they come out with the CTS-V.
Series 61, 62, does that mean 1961 and 1962?
No, those cars are, I believe, like 50, 51.
Okay, cool.
Like, yeah.
Wild.
But yeah, like I was looking at the car, I was like, dude, this is Doc.
Yeah.
This is Doc for sure.
You know, there's an interesting parallel there, and I think it speaks to the history of this car as it relates to that beautiful Corvette engine. But the first generation of the LS, the small block aluminum body Chevy motor.
Was C5?
No, was in the first generation Corvette in like 1955.
Oh,
that was the first like iteration of the LS, I believe.
That's kind of crazy. We've been rocking this LS for that long,
bro. Nah, all hail the LS for real.
No, the LS is goated.
But as we know, the LT is truly the next generation.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so then we fast forward a little bit and we get the second generation in 2009 of the CTS-V. Now, this is the car that you love. I'll tell you why. Because this one came as a wagon.
Oh, I remember that.
You know that one, dude. You know that one. The CT-5-V wagon, manual transmission. Yeah. I think if you're collecting cars, that's one you have to put in there. That's one of the coolest cars of all time.
That thing is incredible.
Awesome. Also came in a coupe. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, it was coupe, 4-door sedan, and wagon, which is kind of strange.
It's a good lineup. It's very, very European of them.
Yeah. So that's a super cool story. What else you got?
Dude, I mean, you touched on the engine, but like you can't get into this car enough because it's essentially just a wrapper for a Corvette engine.
Yeah.
So it came out in like 2000, what was it? 4, you said?
Yeah.
2004 was with the C5 Corvette engine, and then the next generation in 2016 was with the C7 Corvette engine. The LT1, but it was the LT4 in this one, in the CT-5-V Blackwing, because it was the supercharged variant putting out like 580 something horsepower. Just an absolute monster.
That is a monster. Real quick, while you're talking about the engine, like, we wear these AirPods so that we can hear the engine while we're going, and this thing is loud today. It's absolutely ripping.
We should give it a second so the audience can, like, enjoy it.
Yeah, we should. I actually switch it to, like, every time I'm in automatic, I'm like, this is just terrible. I gotta be shifting gears on this thing.
No.
Because I got the paddle shifters on the wheel, too, which is absolutely good. This car comes in manual. Which is incredible. Sorry, I didn't give it time.
Yeah, let's let it breathe.
Listen. That's nice.
Dude, so Car and Driver had some like really, really interesting things to say about this car. Are you familiar with Car and Driver's lightning lap?
Yeah.
So they ranked these cars, giving it a lap around a certain track, and they said 2 things about this car. They said, one, that it was a really, really ugly lap.
Really?
They said that this car was incredibly difficult to control, and that's why they think it did as bad as it did on the lightning lap.
Dude, so this thing did Haggerty. Like, Haggerty put it through, what did they do? It's not Laguna Seca. I forget the track that they use.
Springs?
Yeah, Willow Springs.
Willow
Springs. They put this, it beat the M5 CS around the track.
It beat the M5 CS in Car and Driver's lightning lap too, and they said it was an ugly lap.
So what's a pretty lap?
Dude, I don't want to know.
For real. Okay, sorry, continue.
Oh, okay. So they said one thing. They said that, yes, it was an ugly lap, and that's kind of like the reason why it had the time that it had, which was still a really, really good time. The other thing that they said is this is one of the most beautiful sounding cars ever, and the thing that they highlighted was the rev out between those shifts. Just the fact that this is one of the most powerful cars ever to come with a manual transmission. Mm-hmm. So not often do you hear something with this much like throatiness and like aggression in like that format where you're revving it out and then you have that moment of silence, that pause when you hit the shift, and then it catches that next gear. It's one of the most beautiful sounds ever.
Yep.
And I couldn't agree more, dude. Like, you just don't hear that anymore, and unfortunately it's a thing that's going to be gone. So we should enjoy it while we have it.
Definitely. Haggerty said the exact same thing, just about how beautiful of a sound this car creates. And something that I noticed that when I was actually driving in the sim is, if you'll notice on corners, I'm like downshifting. Normally when I would be in third, I'm going all the way down to second for a while. And if you look at this, dude, the gears are so long in this car. I think I'm getting up to like 84 miles an hour in second gear.
First gear goes up to like almost 60, I believe.
That's crazy. Yeah. But like you said, it really means that you can rev this thing all the way out, which is just like so rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, I think for some reason this thing sounds better than a Corvette ZL1 or ZR1.
Corvette, like the supercharged Corvette?
The supercharged Corvette. Well, sorry, it's the Z06 engine.
Okay, because the C7 Z06 is the supercharged.
Yeah. I've heard a C7 Z06 and this genuinely sounds better to me.
That's a crazy play, but but it is a beautiful sounding engine.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that, again, that's coming out of a Cadillac, but we'll get to that part of it.
This thing is a 4-door Z06.
Well, that was actually its nickname.
Oh, yeah?
It was legitimately nicknamed the 4-door Z06.
Oh, that makes sense. That's what it is.
The CT-5-V. Yeah, that's literally exactly what it is. So I'm going to get to the cultural relevancy of this, but I like that we're in the performance. I love talking about that. Talk about the engine, chassis, any of that.
Sure. Yeah, dude. I'm down to get into this engine all we can get into it. I have some fun facts to share about the Chevy small block V8.
Hit me.
Over 100 million small block Chevy engines were sold by 2022. 3 small blocks every minute since you and me were born. And all of those engines total up for a grand total of 23 billion horsepower.
Bro, you should not have told me that. I'm settling for nothing less than 23 billion horsepower.
I agree. Dude, I'm upset that there's 3 Chevy small blocks being sold every minute since we're born, and I haven't gotten a single one of them. Where's my allocation?
We just need a moment of silence for 23 billion horsepower. GM, thank you for the work you've done. Thank you for the work you've done. That's a ridiculous statistic. I like that fun fact.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to think that it has something to do with our birth also. That
probably.
It definitely like amped up production.
Oh, 100%.
They're like, at some point these guys are going to have a car podcast and it's going to make people buy insane cars.
Mo Power, baby.
Mo Power, baby. Shout out Doughnut.
Shout out Doughnut.
We could also just do a quick overview of the engine breakdown, like the small block Chevys in modern day.
Yeah.
Because it can get kind of confusing because it's like LS and then a number and then LT and then a number.
It's very confusing.
Okay, so the base C7 was the new generation of the small block Chevy V8, and they called that the LT.
Okay, do you know the answer to this question? Because I think a lot of times it's like, what the heck does small block mean?
It's a small block. It's literally the engine block is like made in a compact manner.
Like, what's the relevance? Is there a big block? You know what I mean? Like,
there are big blocks, but it's more so that this is just what you called this engine, because if you go back to old school American V8s, you kind of had this moniker that was like mechanics gave to engines to describe what they were. Like the Ford had the flathead V8.
Yeah, okay.
Just, the head was flat, dude. Like,
okay. I got you. Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's LT.
So the LT, that was released in 2014. It came out with the Corvette.
Okay. Yeah.
That was the LT1.
Mm-hmm.
The supercharged variant of that was the LT4.
Okay.
So that's what this has. This is sitting with an LT4 right here.
Yeah.
Then you get to the next generation of the Corvette, and that was the LT2.
Yep.
That was... Yeah, it's adding up, right? It's slightly modified to go into the back of the car.
Yes.
They did some intake and some exhaust stuff that obviously you have to do when you're routing things. The engine's in a different place.
Yes.
That's really the only change, and they did some things with the oil flow and the airflow just to, you know, make an extra 30 horsepower.
Yeah, but see, it's LT1, LT4, LT2, and then I've got in my C806.
Yeah.
I've got an LT6.
Yeah.
Like, it's just hopping all over the place.
The numbers don't quite make sense. I'm sure there's a Chevy reason why, but yeah. So the LT1 is the direct predecessor of the LT2, and the LT4 is the direct predecessor of the LT6.
Yeah, which is absolutely insane.
And in between them, you have the LT5, which is the Corvette C7-ZR1 engine.
I'm done here. But no, while we're talking about this, I wanted to mention that Haggerty was also talking about, like, the gears and being able to rev this thing out and drive this car. And something that is really interesting is that they said this car was too fast to be good. And I thought that that was really interesting. Because we know for a fact that it's much more fun to drive a slow car fast than it is to drive a fast car slow.
It's true.
And so the idea is that this engine is a beast, but you're literally flying before you even get to use it.
Right.
You can't exit second gear before you're at dangerous speeds on public roads. So they actually said the CT-4-V, which has 200 less horsepower, was much more fun to drive.
I mean, dude, that's what everybody's going to say. They're going to say an M2 is more fun to drive than an M5.
That's kind of why you don't think about that when you're buying these cars, because you're comparing cars on paper.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about performance numbers, you're thinking about what you can show off to your friends, but you're really not putting enough emphasis on, like, what this thing is going to be like to drive every day, and being able to rev this thing out on your way to work is going to be so fun.
Counterpoint, though, like, I do agree, and it is true that one of the most fun cars to drive is a Miata, just because you can literally pretty much be flooring it everywhere you go. But also, this car, yes, it has, like, a lot of horsepower, and it's dangerous, and it'll break traction, and it'll get to, you know, neck-breaking speeds way too quickly. But also, like, It's supercharged, and it's a gigantic V8 engine, meaning all of the power is made right down low where it is usable.
Yeah, I understand. Well, they said that it's literally like just chugging along at like 2,000 RPMs. And like, it's, yeah, you got a lot of torque. You can pass cars at 2,000 RPMs in this car. But man, I want to hear this thing scream. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm buying the more powerful version because I'm too far gone. I'm bought into the hype.
Yeah.
But that's what they said. I thought
no, yeah, you should not have this thing at 6,500 RPM in any gear. It probably breaks traction in third.
Yeah, it's scary. Okay, you got any other fun facts?
Let's see. Oh, the LT4 that's in this car, you can get one for $17,000. Seems like a bargain to me.
New?
New, brand new crate engine.
What are you putting that in?
Oh,
what are you putting that in?
Dude, just about anything it'll fit in. Like, I think the small block Chevy, like whatever engine you get, whatever generation you get for your purposes, is the GOAT engine of all time. That might be a hot take, but I'm willing to give it that. It's the GOAT engine over the Honda B Series, over the Ford Flathead V8 and the Coyote motor.
Can't fit a Hemi in anything.
Can't fit a Hemi in anything. It's the GOAT over, dare I say, the RB and the 2JZ, even.
Honestly, I'm with you. I agree.
It's the longevity. It's the just the ubiquity of it. It's reliable, and it just makes a disgusting amount of horsepower. To answer your question, dude, for the clout factor, I might put this in like an early front engine Ferrari. Like maybe like a earlier California or something like that. That would be really, really fun to drive.
Don't let Ferrari hear you saying that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm getting permanently banned from buying a Ferrari as soon as I do that. But it's gonna be a sick build. What about you?
I think I'm putting it in a Corvette. I think that's what I'm putting it in.
Dude, do you think they're ever gonna take the LT6 engine in the Corvette Z06 C8 and make it a front engine format engine?
I hope they don't.
Really?
Yeah. I hear about them trying to like sell that crate engine. I hear that's like going to be an option, and I'm just like, you just can't take the heart out of the monster, man. It's like they go together so well. Like, I get it. It's an incredible engine, and you want it in different platforms, but like, sacrilegious a little bit.
I think that they might, man. I don't know what they're going to put it in. I don't know what's up next for Cadillac and Chevy as far as front engine sports cars, but from what I understood, it was actually such a minor change to get it to fit rear engine, just to like the intake and the exhaust side, and I feel like they could make it work in a front engine format if they wanted to.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Any other fun facts?
Yeah. So you can go ahead, and then I'll go with my next point.
Okay, so just to like circle back to the car and driver lightning lap.
Yeah.
This was the 43rd fastest lap overall. It beat an M3 and an M5 CS handily. It tied with a 2015 GTR Nismo.
With rear-wheel drive.
With rear-wheel drive.
Those are all-wheel drive cars.
It was automatic as tested. So, you know, they didn't do it with the manual one.
Yeah,
they did already say it was an ugly lap, but I personally believe that if it was me, I'd do a manual one and I could lay down a better lap time. Just give me a couple tries.
Not me, bro. Watch the footage, dude.
And then just a fun fact, it beat a Hellcat wide body by a full 10 seconds. So it was, I believe, 349 compared to the Hellcat's 359.
That's crazy.
And that same track, the fastest lap is held by a McLaren Senna.
Yeah, that's crazy. So one thing I wanted to talk about here is that this car is so good at so many things, and you're getting AMG GT 4-door syndrome. I think that's what's happening here. So, like, in today's age, cars are becoming so good that they look like phones. Like, remember when we all cared about what phone we had? Like, oh, my new iPhone, my new Android has this, it's waterproof, it has this. It's like, they're getting so good that we don't care what phone we have anymore. And this is happening to cars. They're all getting so good at being comfortable, at being daily drivable, that like those aren't, like, you don't need a car that specializes in that. And so what's happening today is we're buying cars that have a specialty. And so you're seeing cars like the GT4 RS, you're seeing cars like the Z06, but even if we look at another, you're seeing Sterrato, you're seeing Dakar, you're seeing cars like the Ram TRX get really popular. You're seeing cars like the Raptors of the Bronco and the F-150 get really popular. It's like, every car that I buy today will take me to work, and run without a problem and have Apple CarPlay.
And have a little setting that makes your suspension comfy.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So at this point, like, I want something hardcore.
Counterpoint, though, I think the issue with the AMG GT was just that they were trying to do something that they weren't set up to do. AMG isn't set up to build luxury cars, so they shouldn't have been trying to do that from day one, and that's why that car ended up costing almost $250,000 spec'd out. Versus this thing that costs half that because they took a Cadillac that was already a well, built platform, and then V did what a performance division's supposed to do and slapped a gigantic Corvette supercharged engine in it.
It's true.
So that's why it is doing a lot.
True.
It is doing a lot, but you're getting a lot more for your money.
Yeah. Also, the car's like 85,000.
Literally.
Yeah, that's
spec'd out. Like, you get every single option. I believe it's like 110.
That's a lot of value.
And
I will give you that.
And I don't think that they overdid it on the luxury either. I think that this has a nicer interior than a 3 Series competition, and definitely than a Hellcat, which I would say, like, in that same range are underperforming luxury interiors for somebody who wants to buy a sports sedan.
Yeah. Okay, showroom. So first things first, we're going to come into the engine department here, and that's...
Yes, sir. There she is.
Ooh, yeah. That's pretty. Dude, look at that. Like, what do they call that?
The crossbar?
The crossbar?
Yeah.
Serious. I love this.
V just slapped V badges all over this thing.
Which I love.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let them know. You know what I mean? Also, they did the thing that Mercedes does where they put a plaque of the dude who built the engine on the engine.
Yeah, they're each one of these engines are hand-built.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Dude, this is it's not for everybody, but it is a nice car. I think it's a nice car.
I think, like, put it on paper, like, analyze it like you were doing some sort of, like, literary analysis, but you're analyzing the design. Yeah. I think the body lines are beautiful. I think the proportions are great. I might have made the wheels a little bigger.
Yeah. What about the interior?
Interior's great, dude.
Dude, I think GM interiors are coming a long way. Like, they're not even comparable to Dodge.
Yeah.
Their interiors are great. Honestly, they're better than Ford.
Yeah.
Like, and also, you can't really see it there, but the amount of carbon fiber and things they use in these performance cars, you'll see it in the back seat. Like in the Z06, I've got those carbon tubs, carbon fiber tubs. Those seats are so sick. In this car, look at that.
Yeah,
you're in the back seat looking at a carbon fiber tub. That is awesome.
Yeah, I believe they had like $9-something thousand worth of carbon fiber options in this car. It's a nice touch, dude. I like it.
GM does love their carbon fiber options.
You know what they did mess up on? The infotainment system, super outdated. This car came out in 2021. Look at that. It looks like a Honda Element.
Yeah, this is a 22 model we're looking at. Yeah, it should be a little nicer.
Yeah. You see what I mean about the wheels? They put 19s on this thing. I think at this point we're just used to seeing 20s, 21s.
Yeah, I agree. They could have been a little bit bigger. Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess I'll give you my official rating when we get to the Glaze score, but
yeah.
But it's a nice car. I love that. The V logo is just like classic.
Yeah, and I like consistent design elements. If you look all over the interior and exterior of this car, it's the chevron shape of the Cadillac logo. You'll see it everywhere. It's just a nice touch.
That is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
We're jumping into the Glaze score?
Let's glaze it up.
Glaze it up, boys. Oh, no.
Okay, so first things first, performance.
Okay. For performance, I have 8, and my notes are Chevy small block magic.
Okay. For performance, I have 6.
Okay, what the hell happened there?
Because, like, I'm just trying to figure, like, the 0 to 60 times could be better.
Was it mid-3s?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like,
good. This is a big car.
Like, it's rear-wheel drive, so, like, you're just not going to have the kind of performance that you do from, like, an M5 CS. I don't care how fast it was around the track. You know that the M5 CS is going to perform better than this. You know that.
I agree, but I want a rear-wheel drive car. What if that's just what I wanted?
Well, then you're going to get a 6. Okay. Design. What do you got?
Design. I got 6, and it's not common traffic, but very understated. This is this thing that people have been saying on our videos. They keep saying common traffic.
Yeah, they do keep saying that.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I get what it means. It's really, really cool. Yeah, this isn't common traffic. You're not pulling up in this and they're like, oh, that's just another sedan. But the design is very understated, so you're definitely not going to get the recognition that you deserve when you're driving it.
I think this is kind of common traffic.
Really?
Yeah, I gave it a 5 for design. I think that. Remember when we talked about the M3 being the average design car?
Yeah.
And I was like, you're crazy?
Yeah.
I think this is the average design car. I think this is a 5.
I give it about what I gave an M3. This is just American and that one's German. They're about the same for me.
Fair enough. Okay. Value. What do you got?
Value. I actually had this one really high and then I brought it down because I realized that this is a car for enthusiasts. And as an enthusiast, genuinely, you have more fun options. Like, you could take one of these crate engines and put it in literally anything and you would have a similar experience. And I don't know if everything that this car brings beyond that is necessarily what you want and worth the price tag. So I gave it a 7.
I also gave it a 7. That's how you know that that's what this actually is.
Yeah.
But it's a bona fide super sedan. Cannot deny that.
Oh, dude, this builds the category.
This is genre defining for sure.
100%.
Okay. Perception. What do you got? You remember the ratings that we took?
Yeah.
Okay. So this thing was all the way at the bottom with only the Hellcat below it.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, if you ask like neighborhood dads, like in a homeowners association, they're like perception 10. They're like, hell yeah, brother.
Outside of them, because they're not for the perception category.
That's who I'm looking for. That's who I'm trying to impress.
Okay. All right, well.
Pause.
Yeah.
But play.
What?
Nah, I gave it a 6, and my notes are dad car.
Okay, I gave it a 4.
What?
It literally ranked last. Dude, a Bronco has more clout than this. When we polled the audience, they said a Bronco is nicer.
It's true. It's true, but like...
A Supra was nicer than this.
I mean, I agree, honestly.
A C300 was nicer than this.
Yeah, that's serious.
That's low.
That's serious. This thing doesn't deserve that.
No, it doesn't. So I went with 4.
That's a value issue for me. Not so much perception. I think somebody, like, you know... Yes, it doesn't look great from the road, but somebody opens up that door handle, they get that Cadillac thud when they close it, like the interior's nice and bolstered, like, they're not going to be like, this is a 4. Like, they're going to be like, oh, he drives a nice car.
Fair enough.
They're going to be like, I don't even know what it is, but he drives a nice car.
Fair enough. It's a Cadillac, which is weird, but that's a separate conversation. But yeah, with that said, the CT-5-V is genre defining, like we said. It is a super sedan for sure. And when we did the Hellcat episode, you're thinking about the fact that, like, okay, we know what Germany makes when they make a super sedan. We know what it looks like for America. Yeah. Not the case. We can do luxury also. This car proves that.
It's true. And it kind of comes right at the end of, like, a beautiful concept. And this might be the last car that we see from it, which is just rear engine, 6-speed manual, and fast as hell. But
last of a dying breed.
It's definitely the last of a dying breed, and it's probably going to go the way of the newspaper, the typewriter, and the hot dog.
All things we can't afford to lose. Until next time, guys. Thanks for watching.